Today we're diving into the absolute incredible variety of life on Earth. I mean, think of our planet as a massive ongoing party where every single plant and animal has an invitation. And in this explainer, well, we're going to learn exactly how to identify the guests.
All right, let's just jump right into the big mystery here. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why a fluffy cat darting across your living room looks and moves so vastly differently from, say, an earthworm wriggling in the garden? On the surface, they're both animals, right? But their physical structures? Totally different.
To solve that mystery, we need to look at Part 1, the animal kingdom divided.
So the answer to our cat and worm puzzle? It all comes down to one absolutely crucial feature, the backbone. Think of your backbone as a strong, central column of bones running right down the middle of your back. It does some serious heavy lifting. It helps animals stand up straight, it allows them to bend, and, super importantly, it protects delicate nerves. But here's the catch. Not all animals actually have one.
Right, so this is exactly how we categorize them. Let's put these two groups head to head. On one side, we have vertebrates. A really handy memory trick, vertebrates sounds a little bit like very straight, because that internal backbone gives them a strong, rigid support system. We're talking fish, frogs, lizards, pigeons, and of course, mammals like cats and us humans. But on the flip side, we have invertebrates. Use that prefix in to remind yourself, inside, no backbone. Since they don't have that internal bone structure, they have to adapt. So they might have soft, squishy bodies like worms and starfish, or they might rely on a tough outer shell for protection, like cockroaches and honeybees.
When you look at how these groups are divided, the contrast is pretty wild. On the one hand, we've got the vertebrates. This ranges from warm-blooded mammals and birds all the way to cold-blooded fish, reptiles, and amphibians. You can easily imagine that backbone running right through their bodies, giving them their distinct shape. But then, look at the invertebrates. We're talking everything from squishy, boneless jellyfish and sea sponges, to shelled mollusks, to insects and multi-legged millipedes. It is literally a massive structural divide in the animal kingdom.
Okay, moving on to Part 2, exploring plant categories.
Now that we've got a handle on the animals, let's talk about the decorators of our giant party, the plant kingdom. Just like animals, plants come in this amazing variety of shapes and sizes, and they're also divided into two super clear categories based on one highly visible feature. Yep, the flower. Flowering plants are, well, exactly what they sound like. They produce flowers at some point in their life. And these flowers, they aren't just there to look pretty. They're absolutely crucial for producing seeds so new plants can grow. Think roses, bright sunflowers, or even apple and lemon trees. Then you've got non-flowering plants. These are plants that never produce flowers. Not ever. Instead, they usually have green or needle-like leaves and rely on entirely different methods to reproduce, like using cones or spores.
When we map these two groups out, we find some really fascinating overlaps. Both share fundamental traits, right? They both produce seeds, and they both have roots, stems, and leaves. But only the flowering plants use those colorful petals to attract insects for fertilization. Meanwhile, the non-flowering plants, like the evergreen shown here, often have needle-shaped leaves to reduce water loss, and they produce their seeds tucked safely away inside cones.
To really get a feel for non-flowering plants, let's look at some local superstars. Up in the cool, mountainous regions of northern Pakistan, places like Murree, Swat, Kagan, and Chalice, you're going to find an absolute abundance of evergreen trees called conifers. This group includes the pine, juniper, thuya, and the sago palm. And they're incredibly important. I mean, their wood is harvested for furniture, building houses, and even for making the very paper we write on. But check this out. Here's a biological fact that directly connects the structure of a non-flowering conifer to a delicious local snack you've probably eaten. Remember how we said non-flowering plants hide their seeds in cones? Well, pine trees produce cones that contain edible seeds known as chilgoza, or pine nuts. It's just so cool how a biological classification directly translates into a popular dry fruit we actually enjoy.
Which brings us to Section 3, the giant Earth party.
Now that we've met the distinct groups of guests and decorators, let's look at how all these different organisms interact. Our source material uses this wonderful analogy, saying, our Earth is like a giant party, and it's full of all sorts of different living things. And think about it. If you went to a party where everyone looked exactly the same, talked the same, and liked the exact same things, it would be incredibly boring. Nature feels the exact same way. Variety is what actually makes the system work. In science, this incredible variety is called biodiversity. And why does a high level of biodiversity matter? because every single living thing, from a massive elephant down to a tiny honeybee, has a specific job. Bees help flowers make seeds, trees give us fresh air. A system with a huge variety of players is just stronger, healthier, and way more resilient.
That leads us to our final section, Part 4, Protecting Our Planet.
Unfortunately, this incredible party is currently at risk, and we really need to talk about what's happening to all this biodiversity. Sadly, many plants and animals are in real danger of disappearing from the Earth forever, a tragedy we call extinction. The sources point out 3 major threats driving this. First, the destruction of habitat. This happens when homes, like forests or oceans, get destroyed by human construction or deforestation. Second is the change of climate. As the Earth gets warmer, it becomes literally impossible for certain plants and animals to survive in their natural homes. And third, the scarcity of water. This leaves living things without the clean water they desperately need to drink and grow.
But hey, it's not all bad news. There is real hope out there, especially when you look at some of the incredible real-world conservation efforts highlighted in our source material. For instance, the government of Pakistan has taken massive action by initiating a project to plant billions of trees. Now, why trees? Because they're basically nature's ultimate multi-tool. They clean the air, keep the earth cool, and provide essential homes for animals. So they're directly fighting climate change and boosting biodiversity all at the same time.
Just look at Changa, located near Lahore. It is actually recognized as the largest man-made forest in the entire world. Just let that sink in for a second. Every single tree there was planted by people. This staggering achievement proves that instead of just destroying habitats, we humans can actively rebuild homes for wildlife. We can create beautiful spaces where nature can thrive all over again.
As we wrap up this explainer, I have a question for you. We've talked about massive projects like planting billions of trees, but conservation really starts on a much smaller scale. What is one thing you can do to help protect the living things around you? Whether it's making sure you don't litter, saving water at home, or just planting a single seed in your garden, how will you step up to protect our Earth's giant party? Next time you're outside, take a moment to look closely at the incredible biodiversity around you and ask yourself how you can help it survive. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.